Today we're going to talk about one of the most important concepts in Houdini, attributes. If you understand them, you understand a big part on how Houdini works. In simple terms, attributes are the way data is stored and used through the node graph. You can think of them a bit like variables in programming. They store information that node can use later to perform operations. They can be stored in any component like points, vertices, primitives, or on the whole geometry, which is called a detail attribute. This means that every point, every primitive, or even every vertex can carry its own information. For example, a point might store things like its position, color, scale, or any custom value that you create. And the thing is, the nodes downstream can read these attributes and use them to modify their behavior. So instead of manually controlling everything, you can create attributes and let the node graph react to the data. The geometry spreadsheet helps you to visualize all the attributes on your geometry, the one you create and the one you didn't use under the hood. You can visualize any attributes on points, primitives, vertices. If I add a color node, you can see that automatically it creates some values for the color attributes on every point. And if I want to create my custom attribute, I use attribute create. And you can see that attribute 1 has been added in the spreadsheet. But you can rename it my attribute, and my attribute just updated. You have access to a wide variety of types like integer, vectors, string. For example, I change the type to string and I will type something, test. So my attribute has no test as value. You can change the type, so you can move your attribute to one component to another. And you can as well use an attribute wrangler to manually add some attributes using the @ sign and the name of the attribute you want to create. And you can type directly values or expression or any vex code you want to use to drive your attributes. Here I use a bevel node, so it's actually it's even, it's the same all over the object. So we will create an attribute noise, and with this attribute noise we will use a float to control the bevel amount. So we will type bevel, and it creates automatically for each point a bevel value that we can use in the PolyBevel to control the amount of beveling for each point. So here I tweak a bit the noise, and I will tell the PolyBevel node to use the bevel attribute we just created. And now we can see that the bevel is now uneven and is related to the values of the attribute noise. It's very handy to create uneven effect like damage or random stuff on objects. Here is another example where I use attributes to control scattered object. I first use a gradient, just a simple gradient, and I will remap the gradient. I will use attribute remap to convert the CD attribute to the density attribute that is used by the scatter to create the points. And I remap it to control better the shape. And I remap it again into p-scale. I use the same gradient to drive the scale. As you can see, the gradients control the shape of the trees. I can remap it to control how the value is mapped. And then on top of it, I use an attribute randomize that multiplies the values of the gradient to add some variation. And I use a custom ramp, and with the custom ramp you can better control how much object you have of each size. And finally, that's the final result. That was a quick introduction to Houdini attributes. There's much more to explore, but I hope this gave you a clear idea of how they work. If you'd like more content like this, please like and subscribe.